The forgotten role of identity in longevity. Identity is rarely discussed in biology. It sounds abstract, psychological, separate from cells and systems. Yet quietly, identity may be one of the strongest forces shaping how long the body stays resilient. The reason it has been overlooked is precisely because it seems to belong to a different domain, one concerned with meaning and selfhood rather than inflammation and cellular repair. But the boundary between those domains is far less solid than most people assume. Researchers studying aging notice something puzzling. People with similar habits, health access, and genetics often aged very differently. The difference was not effort, it was continuity. Who they believed themselves to be over time. The continuity was not about clinging to a single self-image. It was about whether the thread of identity remained intact across the changes that life inevitably brings. Whether each new phase felt like an evolution of the same story, or the beginning of an entirely different one. To understand why this matters, we need to look at what identity does biologically. Identity organizes behavior. It shapes routine. It defines responsibility. And through those pathways, it tells the nervous system what to expect from the future. When the nervous system can predict what will be asked of it, it allocates resources efficiently, investing in the capacities that will be needed and allowing others to rest. Identity provides the map that makes this allocation possible. When identity is stable, effort has direction, stress has meaning, recovery follows contribution. The body reads this as coherence. Systems engage, then stand down. The cycle is clean, and the body trusts it because it has been repeated enough times to become predictable. Predictability allows the deeper layers of biological maintenance to proceed without interruption. When identity fractures, biology reacts. Roles end abruptly. Purpose dissolves. Days lose narrative. The nervous system enters uncertainty, staying alert for redefinition that may never arrive. The alertness is not the sharp vigilance of immediate danger. It is the low-grade, persistent scanning of a system that has lost its coordinates and does not know what will be required of it next. Researchers saw this most clearly during life transitions: retirement, career loss, social displacement. Aging accelerated not immediately, but subtly. Recovery slowed, inflammation lingered, resilience thinned. The thinning was cumulative, each week of undefined identity reducing the body's reserves by a margin too small to notice, but large enough to matter over months and years. What made this invisible was normality. People remained functional, active, social. But internally, the body had lost a map. The activities continued, but they no longer served a coherent narrative, and without that narrative, the body could not determine which activities mattered enough to invest in and which could be safely deprioritized. Identity loss did not feel like stress. It felt like drift. And drift is one of the hardest states for biology to resolve. Drift has no antagonist, no clear obstacle to overcome. It is the absence of direction rather than the presence of difficulty. And the body has fewer mechanisms for addressing absence than it has for addressing threat. This was the first indication that longevity is not only influenced by what the body endures, but by whether life still tells a coherent story. And when that story breaks, aging often begins to move faster than anyone expects. As researchers followed individuals through identity shifts, the biological effects became clearer. When identity remained intact, aging slowed. When it fractured, decline accelerated. The relationship was consistent enough to suggest that identity operates as a genuine biological variable, not merely a psychological one. Identity acts as a stabilizing signal. It tells the nervous system what role to play tomorrow, what demands to prepare for, what efforts will matter. This forward-looking function is critical because the body does not only respond to the present, it prepares for the future, and the quality of that preparation depends on the clarity of the signal that identity provides. Without that signal, stress becomes diffuse. Effort loses direction. The body remains alert without a clear target. Repair waits. The waiting is not passive. It is an active state of readiness that consumes resources and prevents the deep disengagement that renewal requires. Biomarkers reflected this uncertainty. Elevated inflammation, flattened cortisol rhythms, fragmented sleep. These changes appeared even when lifestyles remained healthy. The lifestyles were performing the correct behaviors, but the behaviors lacked the organizing principle that would have given them biological weight. Exercise without identity is motion. Routine without purpose is repetition. The body distinguishes between the two. What mattered most was necessity, being needed, being relied upon. Identity carried biological weight only when absence would disrupt something larger. The weight came not from self-importance, but from genuine consequence, from the knowledge that something real depended on the body showing up and performing its role. This explained why some people age poorly, despite active social lives. Engagement without responsibility did not send the same signal. The body distinguishes between participation and obligation. Participation is optional and can be withdrawn without consequence. Obligation creates a structure that the body reads as meaningful, and meaningful structure drives the allocation of resources toward maintenance and repair. Those who maintained identity through transitions aged more gently. Mentorship, caregiving, contribution that evolved rather than ended. Biology responded to continuity. The continuity did not require that the person remain in the same role. It required that each new role feel like a genuine extension of the previous one, connected by purpose and responsibility. The data forced a re-evaluation. Longevity is not sustained by comfort or activity alone. It is sustained by coherent identity. And when identity dissolves without replacement, the body prepares for a future it cannot predict. The conflict emerges when modern systems remove identity faster than biology can adapt. Roles end abruptly. Titles disappear. Relevance is reassigned without ceremony. The abruptness is not malicious. It is structural, built into systems that prioritize efficiency and mobility over continuity and transition. Retirement is the clearest example. One day, decades of necessity vanish. Structure collapses. Days open wide, but without demand. The body interprets this not as rest, but as uncertainty. The uncertainty is deepened by the cultural narrative that retirement is a reward, which makes it difficult for people to acknowledge the biological cost without feeling ungrateful or weak. The narrative insists that this is what was earned, and to question its value feels like ingratitude. But biology does not respond to narratives. It responds to signals, and the signal that retirement sends is often one of sudden, unstructured openness. Researchers observed that individuals who experienced sudden identity loss showed accelerated biological aging, even when stress decreased. Inflammation rose, recovery slowed, sleep lost depth. The acceleration was not caused by the loss of activity. It was caused by the loss of the organizing principle that had given activity its biological meaning. When that principle vanished, the activities that remained became disconnected from any larger structure, and disconnected activity does not produce the same biological benefits as purposeful engagement. Attempts to replace identity with leisure often failed. Travel entertained, hobbies filled hours, but without consequence, engagement lacked biological weight. The nervous system stayed on standby. Standby is a state that looks like rest from the outside, but operates internally as low-grade vigilance, consuming resources without producing the renewal that genuine rest provides. Those who aged better experienced continuity. Identity shifted rather than stopped. Advisor instead of operator. Caregiver instead of provider. Responsibility changed form, but did not disappear. The shift was not always easy or natural. It required deliberate redesign. an active choice to find new forms of contribution that carried enough consequence to register biologically. The conflict, then, is structural. Modern life excels at ending roles. It struggles to transform them. Biology pays the price for that gap. The price is measured not in acute suffering, but in the gradual erosion of resilience that comes from living without a clear biological mandate. Longevity suffers not because people stop working, but because systems stop needing them. And without being needed, the body loses a critical signal to maintain itself. Until identity is allowed to evolve instead of terminate, aging will continue to accelerate quietly after major life transitions. The climax of this story is the realization that identity is not optional for longevity. It is biological infrastructure. It provides the organizing signal that tells the body what to prepare for, what to invest in, and when to recover. Without that signal, the body conserves rather than renews, and conservation over time produces the narrowing of capacity that defines biological aging. When the body senses that it still has a role to play, it allocates resources differently. Repair stays active. Resilience remains available. Aging slows not because damage disappears, but because purpose organizes recovery. Purpose provides the justification for biological investment, the reason the body continues to maintain capacities that would otherwise be allowed to decline. The resolution is not to cling to old identities. It is to redesign them, to allow roles to evolve instead of ending, to ensure contribution remains necessary, even as form changes. The redesign is not about staying busy. It is about staying consequential, about maintaining the kind of relevance that the body recognizes as a reason to keep investing in its own future. Longevity does not thrive in lives without consequence. It thrives where absence would be noticed, where responsibility still shapes tomorrow. Modern societies have learned how to extend lifespan. They have not learned how to extend identity. And without identity, extra years often arrive fragile and thin. The extension of years without the extension of purpose creates a period of life that the body was not prepared for. A period in which capacity declines, not because the body has reached its limits, but because it has lost the reason to maintain them. Because in the end, the body does not age fastest when it grows tired. It ages fastest when it no longer knows who it is supposed to be. Sometimes the smallest shift in perspective becomes the beginning of a new future.